Hey everybody, this is LSV for life. Just got back from Colorado. Took Trailer Swift, Lieutenant Dan, and Grandma and I out there. Watched the Broncos play the Titans. As a diehard Chiefs fan, I was blown away how nice all the Broncos fans were out there. Had a great experience. So definitely, if you've not been out there to Mile High, the old Empower, check it out, man. Those were great people. So this is Twitch in the Box Sports Talk, brought to you down here at the Backstage Pass. Got Big Willie and my nephew Chris, aka Twitch in the Box Sports Talk. Here we go. So things didn't go real well. I don't think week one for one of you two, but you know what? It's football season, so let's go. Break it down for us, Big Willie.
Right in the football season here. So over the weekend, Twitch went 12-4 with his picks. Had a really good weekend. He was 2 losses came with the last 2 games. I went 9-8 on the weekend. Not a great weekend I went 9-7 on the weekend. Not a great weekend for me. Obviously, picks wise, but it happens. You have rough weeks in the NFL. Also, with the Dolphins only scoring 8 points, hurt me fantasy wise, hurt me betting wise, hurt me picks wise across the board. Really screwed me. But let's roll into our offensive player and defensive player of the year. So, Twitch, would you like to, not player of the year, but player of the week, who we thought really performed well, but would you like to lead us off here, Twitch?
Sure. So I'll start off on the defensive side of the ball. Again, even though not a huge fan being a Cleveland Browns player, I said, but my pick last week for defensive player of the year was Myles Garrett, and I think he ended up got credit for 2.5 or 3 sacks and also several more hurries. And then I don't know how many people got to see the hit where Burrow got rid of the ball in time, but just waylaid. And then Myles Garrett being pivotal in holding that Cincinnati offense to only 14 total yards in the second half, and Myles Garrett there was one time in the I don't remember if it was the third or fourth quarter in the second half where Cleveland had 3 consecutive sacks, and Myles Garrett was a big part of that. So my defensive player of the week goes to Myles Garrett.
I mean, if you haven't seen that pick or seen that hit, go watch it on X or YouTube or whatever it's out there. Joe Burrow gets it off just in time, and Joe Burrow looks like he got murdered. Just lays her on the ground. But my defensive player of the week would be Fred Warner. Fred Warner coming back off injury, had a really great game against the Seahawks. He had 15 total tackles, 8 solos, and then the rest an assisted. Had a bunch of QB hurries. He had a great game coming back against, obviously, it's Sam Darnold. He's not the most mobile quarterback in the world, but playing a really great linebacker spot. And I think Fred Warner is a top 5 linebacker in the league, and I have a lot of faith in him. Or if he can stay healthy all year, he might be a defensive player of the year candidate that we didn't think of. Yeah. Just because he's always been there. He's kind of like a Bobby Wagner of sorts.
Yeah.
But rolling in my offensive player of the week would be Josh Allen. 398 passing yards, 4 total touchdowns, 2 passing, 2 rushing. Put the Bills on his back like he has in the past. Takes in the last 3 minutes and 20 seconds, scores 21 unanswered points in Baltimore. I mean, with lack of a better term, doing Patrick Mahomes type activities, like rolling left, throwing the ball all the way across his body to the right for a completion. And I think it's almost more impressive than what Mahomes has done in the past, purely because of who his wide receivers are. Mm-hmm. Like Keon Coleman's probably his wide receiver 1, if you really want to put it down to that. And James Cook's like a solid back out of the backfield, but he doesn't have any big name receivers, and he's still getting it done, which I think helps them in ways, but also hurts them in ways. Yeah. So that's my player of the week, or my offensive player of the week.
That's a solid pick. Just I guess over the last few years, Baltimore's been kind of known for giving away big leads late in the game, and so unfortunately for them, that's kind of been like the other MO. But going back and watching the game live and watching the highlights, like some of those balls, like Josh Allen just was throwing around the money, right where only his receiver could get it. So as much as I do believe it was kind of a Baltimore choke job, at the same time, there's only so many ways to defend that. So yeah, my offensive player of the week, I'm going to stay in the same game, and I hate to just all stay in the AFC North, but I'm going to go on the losing side of that. I'm going to go with Derrick Henry as my offensive player of the week. Obviously he had the fumble on the second to last drive, which was part of that comeback. But before that, he was averaging almost 9 yards a carry. I think he ran for about 170 yards, 2 touchdowns. Just kind of looked like Derrick Henry of old. So, kind of adding on to what he did last year, kind of rejuvenated last year. How is it going to ago this year was the same Derrick Henry. Even though they lost a close game with Buffalo, it's like it just what we anticipate. Everyone anticipates like Baltimore will be a tough out with Derrick Henry.
Now we're going to roll into a couple quick game recaps here. We're just going to talk about some games that surprised us this week or games that we thought were interesting in general. But if we're going to start off, in my opinion, the most interesting game of the week, just out of pure stats and scoreboard, was the Jets Steelers. But Steelers close out the win with offense carrying, which you wouldn't have been able to say that for the last 5 years, or at least since Big Ben's been there at least.
Yeah.
But Twitch, go ahead and start breaking that down for us.
Yeah, like some good and bad to both sides. I think that was, a little more close than what I would have liked. But as far as for the Pittsburgh, being a Pittsburgh fan, obviously, the good thing, there's definitely some good and bad to take away from it. And the good was in those moments right before half or when the Steelers got down or when they needed that last drive at the end of the game, something they haven't had since Big Ben was that veteran presence where you could tell that veteran presence. It wasn't too big for Aaron Rodgers. He looked comfortable. When Pittsburgh gave him time to throw, then he looked like Aaron Rodgers of old. And when he rolling out to the right, had a couple wide open touchdown passes, and so definitely did some good things. I'm still anxious to see what we do for a number 2 receiver, but getting Jaylen Warren involved a lot out of the background or out of the backfield, and then Skurazik or whatever the little wide receiver slot guy. He got some of the other guys. So that's one of the things he looked at when we talked about the very first podcast is Aaron Rodgers being able to get the most out of those kind of players. Those guys get the most out of them. So I like what I saw out of that and putting up 34 points. Chris Boswell, completely underrated. I know he's just a kid. I feel like a Chiefs fan back in the day is where one of our best players is the kicker. But as Mike Tomlin said on the post game, our kicker is a serial killer because he's got ice in his veins. But just nails it. I think he would have made it from 65 or 70.
Yeah, it was a good kick.
But with that, as far as the red flags, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, the red flags for Pittsburgh was there's definitely some times where Aaron Rodgers looked his age. A lot of pressure by the Jets early and often. And just it looked like Peyton Manning back in the day, when towards the end
of the Broncos run.
Yes, so took a couple sacks. It's kind of bittersweet because it's where you want him to throw in triple coverage, and he knew to just take the sack. And also a big red flag. And thanks to Pittsburgh, they're known for their defense, and T.J. Watt, rightfully so. I love T.J., but they gave up 260 yards, I think, in the first half, and they gave up almost 400 or 500 yards. So definitely some question marks around the defense. They did close out the game, but they had to rely on a 60-yard kick. And like I said last week, I was on the cusp of they pulled it out, but one of the things that Pittsburgh's known for is losing games they shouldn't, and it looked like it was going to be that way on Sunday. But on the flip side of that, if you're a Jets fan, a lot to be excited about because Justin Fields picked up, and it looked like he even progressed from last year, even with Pittsburgh. Got a lot of guys involved. I can't remember what his stat line ended up. I think it ended up being around the 250 range. Yeah. But there was a couple passes. The touchdown to Wilson in the right corner, just an absolute dime on the run. And Fields, being a poor man's Lamar Jackson, I guess if he ever meets just that scrambling to keep the play open or getting the first down, moving the ball. He obviously has can get the first down with his legs. So if you're a Jets fan, a lot to be positive about. I think they'll be better than what people think. It's really promising from what I saw in week 1 from the Jets.
Yeah, they look like a really dangerous team. They came out, they play defense was playing good. Yeah. Their defense was flying around. They don't have Sauce Gardner or Quinnen Williams, or they're 2 big name guys. But besides that, there was younger guys making plays. And then offensively, Garrett Wilson obviously having himself a day. Garrett Wilson, I think, is kind of a forgotten receiver just because he plays for the Jets and he's at Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. Aaron Rodgers threw for 4 touchdowns this last week. Yeah. But Aaron Rodgers last year was 1 touchdown to Devontae Adams, maybe. Yeah. If the sun's out, we didn't know if they were getting. But looked really good. The Jets, this is obviously a way too early prediction, but big into overreactions here, that the Jets might be a sneaky playoff team because they came out and they played hard. Aaron Glenn, their head coach, he was a defensive guy. I can only imagine the defense is going to improve throughout the year. And it's if Justin Fields can stay consistent, which he showed last year for he played 5 games for the Steelers last year. Yeah. Played 6 games. Mm-hmm. He played really good in those games, and they handed it over to Russ for this or that reason. But I was really impressed with the Jets. Yeah. I feel like they're a scary team that's going to be out there in the AFC that you're going to have to be on the lookout for. And it's not just going to be an easy win throughout the year.
Yeah.
Rolling into another game here that was a big surprise to me. I thought it might be close, might be a blowout the other way. But Colts Dolphins, 33-8. Colts get the win. Daniel Jones looks like prime Peyton Manning. I just, mind blown. It was the first time. What year did you say? 73.
78.
Since 1978 that the Colts scored on every offensive possession, which is crazy because they had good Andrew Luck for a couple years, had prime Peyton Manning for a couple years.
Well, that was, sorry to interrupt, but first time ever, not just the Colts, but first time since 1978 that a team scored on every single drive. So not just Colts, just NFL history.
Yeah, Daniel Jones looked great. Michael Pittman caught some big balls.
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor looked like pre-holdout Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
I guess if you want to call that a holdout, that was kind of just a weird situation.
Yeah.
But defense was flying around. I mean, obviously there was a lot of struggle on the offensive side for the Dolphins. I mean, wide receiver one, Tyreek Hill, who's a little bit older, but still Tyreek Hill, only has one catch for 8 yards, I think what it was. The offense just looked slow. Tua looked like concussed Tua. Knock on wood, hopefully he's not concussed. Hope everybody's healthy, but this Dolphins didn't look good. And I don't know if it was play calling. I watched the highlights of this game. I didn't watch the game because it wasn't on in our area. But I didn't. The highlights were basically all Colts highlights, and then a couple like runs from Acme, their running back from the Dolphins. But I think McDaniel is the number one guy on the hot seat right now for getting fired in season. If we want to start that list and overreact, I say McDaniel's number one on that list.
Yeah.
And then shout out the Colts for coming out and firing around, man. Like obviously, they did their remembrance of Jim Irsay, their owner, who passed away this offseason.
Yeah.
So a lot of people were saying it was like a big thing, like it was that they won for. But they looked really good all around. So might be my biggest surprise of the week of just a total ass beating I did not see coming any way at all.
Yeah. No, that was one of the games I got wrong as well, just because I thought that, like, I expected, like, I wanted to know which Daniel Jones we would get from New York. Do we get the one that won at least one playoff game, or the one that we saw in New York last year for most of the season? Yeah. And it's 1 week. You want to talk about overreactions, I said, but the Colts might be my sneaky team that could be on that playoff bubble. I think in the preseason I had him winning 8 or 9, close anyway. I said, but my preseason pick, Aiden Hutchinson was my comeback player of the year pick.
Yeah.
I said, but Daniel Jones was right there as my second one, or like one I didn't hear a lot of the people talking about. And like you said, it's only 1 week, but he played. I mean, you score on every single drive. A couple first. I mean, and really the game was in hand in the first half, obviously. Yeah. So like to come out, and I don't. You said you watched the highlights. I just watched the highlights as well. I did break down and get the NFL ticket, so I watched a good chunk of games this week. But that one, by the time I was watching my Steeler game, that game it was a blow. Basically. Yeah, it was a blowout early. But if you go back and look at Daniel Jones's first 2 touchdown passes, I said they were absolute dimes.
Yeah.
And so like again, I think that Indianapolis, like you touched on it already, with Jonathan Taylor just doing what he normally does. I mean, I think he put up 86 and a touchdown, and then Daniel Jones like getting the wide receiver no names. I don't mean that with any disrespect.
Yeah.
I said, but same thing. And then to put up 33 points, and then Miami. I know that they probably not the way they want to start it. Sometimes that just happens week 1. So a little bit of that is just not being on the same page, obviously. But still, do you hold them a good Miami? They still have Waddle, they still have Tua, they still have Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
And to come out week 1 and win in that fashion and hold them to only 8 points, I was, like you said, I was really impressed about the Colts and Daniel Jones' play. I hate to say we'll get to our picks here in a minute, but I think that Daniel Jones is going to ride that wave next week as well. And again, if you're a Dolphins fan, I agree as well that this could be Daniel. If McDaniels doesn't, get it evened out, I said, but it's only week 1. I said, but I think he's, like you said, on that short list of 2 or 3 guys that possible firings, and it's early for that, in the season. But from where he started off when they were putting up 70-some points a game or whatever, and where they started off and to where they are now and where they were last year, they never took that. They took a step back, and I know that they had a lot of injuries as well. But to really see them go from a at least competitive team to where they are now is just like, I think that the message is getting stale, and Miami's not traditionally known for being patient with coaches. So it'll be interesting to see, because I do think he's a good offensive mastermind, but Yeah, if you're a Dolphins fan, and I think Miami will come out and play a lot better this week because I think they are a lot better than what they showed. But yeah, interesting game to say the least. I didn't see that one coming at all.
Yeah. Rolling, get our next game going here. Talk about an upset that me and you both got wrong is the Chargers beat the Chiefs down in Brazil. I was coaching high school football at the time, so I didn't get to see it, but at halftime I looked at the score and the Chargers were up. I mean, it was just a game. Didn't go the Chiefs' way at all. Watched the highlights. Mahomes looked like he was kind of not really lost out there, but like he didn't seem like his guys where he thought they should be. Travis Kelce gets in what did you call it, a skirmish?
Yeah.
A skirmish, gets open hand slapped by a Chargers player, which we'll break that down a little bit later when we go State of the Chiefs about what we think happened there, what might have happened there. But Chargers come out, Justin Herbert. Looks like Justin Herbert that everybody expected seeing coming out of Oregon. Almost like Justin Herbert the first time he played against the Chiefs on his first start. It was a close game that whole game. I remember watching it because I was like, oh, Herbert might upset the Chiefs here as a rookie. But didn't see that game coming. I figured, especially in Brazil, Chiefs experience, old head coach, across the board. But back, again, it's Harbaugh. It's Harbaugh football, baby.
Yeah, I can't say that I was really shocked to see the Chargers win. If they catch them off guard. Okay, sorry. I was just going back to as far as like for the Chargers, having Devontae Adams and having Keenan Allen back in his secondary role, and you have Harris, little wide receiver number 8, looked really good. I did watch the game Friday for the Chargers. I still want to say San Diego. But yeah, both the running backs and Najee Harris getting a little bit involved. I said, but like their number 1 running back, I said they look like very balanced. And that's just it. It's like I never felt like Kansas City got close 2 or 3 times, but I never really felt like when it came time to make a stop, that's a red flag for the Chiefs defense. Hopefully they get it figured out. But really impressive on the offensive side of the ball of the balance. And like you said, Justin Herbert looked like he did 2 and 3 years ago. So now with another year under Harbaugh, I said the Chargers we expect to be right there in that hunt at the end of the year. And I said that's a huge win for them.
It's a division game.
And
that might come back later.
And to get that early tiebreaker against the Chiefs. And so, like I said, I was really impressed with the Chargers and Herbert. And then on the flip side of that, Kansas City, to me, they just looked too – I didn't think that Mahomes looked lost. I just think it was just they just kind of sputtered. They just weren't consistent. I mean, they just couldn't get to find a rhythm. And I thought there's a couple times where Mahomes was trying to do too much, not necessarily showing off of us, but like first of all, the Chargers did a great job of putting pressure on him all game, and then there's other times where Mahomes was trying to make the fancy pass, and we maybe didn't need to.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there was also just like every other year. I know the Chiefs lost, but Greg, you'll back me up. But there were still 3 or 4 times in that game where it's like only Patrick Mahomes. There was one in the third, and I think it was in the third quarter when they had 3rd and 5 with Juju Smith-Schuster, and we're talking Mahomes is whatever it was inches off the grass, completely parallel, and gets the first down, or run over the defensive back right by the sideline for a first down. A couple other dimes between the second half and the fourth quarter. That 4th down play, you were thrown across his body. So we definitely saw some things of like, okay, like Patrick Mahomes, but on the offense, they just looked they really didn't get a run game going.
Yeah.
And so, like, Kansas City's going to have to figure that out, especially because Travis Kelce, rightfully so, has kind of lost a step. He's still Travis Kelce, but they're going to have to get the run game more involved. It's big game this week, probably, big game against Philadelphia this week, and hopefully Kansas City can get – it doesn't help, too, I'm not making excuses, but having Xavier Worthy, year 2, did a lot of big things last year, and I know that Kansas City had mentioned they put a lot of the game plan on him for this game, and then him going out the first quarter. But yeah, it was a good game. I said I'm not shocked. I said, but yeah.
Yeah. Rolling into our last game recap here is a Monday Night Football game, which was kind of a tale of 2 quarters, you could say. Bears-Vikings at Soldier Field. First half, Caleb Williams and the Bears come out under Ben Johnson, looking amazing, looking great. Caleb Williams is slinging it like we thought he was going to out of USC. And J.J. McCarthy struggling, his first NFL game. The Bears defense, Montez Sweat was in his face, it seemed like the whole game.
Yeah.
Like their Bears defense was bearing down. 85 Bears night. But yeah, it was a great game. And then come fourth quarter, J.J. McCarthy just turned on what I would call it the clutch factor. And he said, you know what, screw the Bears, we're the Vikings, we're going to beat them, I guess. J.J. McCarthy came out there and made some crazy throws. He got one to Jay Jettis. He had a crazy one to Thielen. That was a big gain. I'm trying to think. It was some old receiver that I haven't heard. I thought he was out of the league. But his second touchdown pass was a crazy back shoulder, like over the DB's head. And then the Bears, as soon as the Bears got pressure put on them, they almost got too conservative. It looked like their defense played hard. Defense played really well. The Bears' defense has obviously improved.
Yeah.
But it seems like the offense got some. They were playing too conservative. And shout out the Vikings for never losing faith, I guess. And J.J. McCarthy coming out there in the fourth quarter and turning on the X factor like he did a couple times in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Looked really good. They just got. It would be interesting to see when he can piece together a full game, because if he plays the way he played in that fourth quarter, they're going to be. It was Aaron Jones who caught the touchdown pass.
Oh, yeah.
It was out of the backfield, like up the sideline fade.
Like a wheel
and
route.
Aaron Jones jumped up and high pointed it. It was a beautiful play.
Yeah.
But it was a great. I was very impressed by the Vikings coming back and not giving up.
Yeah.
And the Bears doing, I guess, what you can only call the Bears things, losing in crazy fashions that you're like, oh, well, it's the Bears and it checks out.
Yeah. No, I think you hit a nail on the head. It's just like it was a tale of two halves for sure, where you said Chicago was getting good pressure early, and it looked like, Caleb Williams, with all the pressure and all the hype around him, showed up the first half, but then they got kind of conservative the second half. And then for Minnesota, it was, like you said, to me, he's one of the biggest wild cards in all the NFC, because Minnesota's a team that, I don't have the stats in front of me, but won 12 or 13 games. I thought they were good, but not as good as their record indicated last year. But I thought that they would take a step back, losing some players, including Sam Darnold. And so, like I said, if the second half McCarthy, if that's what they're building off of, in a divisional win, he's played on the big stage at Michigan, and so it didn't look too big for him. And I know it's just Chicago week one, but that's, to me, like, McCarthy holds it. That's a huge wild card to say, because you don't know. You know what I mean? Like, if he grows off of that, Minnesota's got enough balance on the rest of their team. That's my biggest question mark, was their quarterback. Even with McCarthy, I wasn't sure. I didn't really have expectations, good or bad.
It's hard to tell.
Yeah, because I didn't know if he'd be another one like Mac Jones or some of those other guys from like Alabama that they get into the NFL and they're just like, I hate to say it, but system kind of guys.
Yeah.
So, but like he definitely made some plays at the end of the game, and like I said, to me, if he figures it out and they get some other pieces, like Minnesota could be I didn't have them making the playoffs last week, but that's another one. Maybe overreacting and I think that Minnesota.
Yeah,
that's the wild card.
But let's last game we're going to recap here is our game of the week from last week. Lions at Packers. Packers get the win. I'm going to say I don't know if the Packers necessarily won this game or if it was the Lions losing this game, because the Lions come out last year with a tandem backfield that averaged over 100 yards a game, total scrimmage yards between receiving and passing, between Gibbs and Montgomery being held under 50 yards, which that's a testament to the Packers coming out. But it's also, I think it shows a lot of how much Ben Johnson really fired that offense and the way he utilizes guys, which obviously this was the old quarterback's coach, who's the new OC, so he's going to take a while to grow into like what he likes, what he uses. But the Packers defense came out and looked dominant, and it really helped Jordan Love, because Jordan Love has always seemed like he can win on the big stage, but there have so many question marks on offense. Being able to have a defense to rely on really took a lot of pressure off of Love. Josh Jacobs went out, had an incredible day like he does. Josh Jacobs is really good running back, might be top 5 in the league this year in my opinion. Like if he can stay healthy behind that offensive line, who's a little bit younger, but they have some good pieces. But I think that the Lions more lost this game than the Packers won it, because the Lions have, quote, on paper, the Lions look like a better team, even with the addition of Micah Parsons. But the Packers just came out in Lambeau Field, and it was a 2-score win, but it's a division game. And like we talked about, the Chiefs and Chargers might come back in December or January and be like, wow, that really screwed us over for number 1 seed or wherever they're playing at.
Yeah, and so I already mentioned it with the Colts and Vikings, but my other big overreaction is like, do I change my Detroit going to the NFC Championship and have the Packers go? Because the Packers are probably, to me, one of the top 2 or 3 teams I was most impressed of in week 1. I know that they lost both coordinators in Detroit, offensive coordinator coming from the same coaching tree, so I didn't expect that much of a drop-off. Green Bay obviously had the momentum, and knowing that's a big divisional game, so like, hey, you got to take care of business at home. Kudos to Green Bay for doing that. So definitely some inconsistency, some miscommunication a couple times, but to hand it to Green Bay, like, they got pressure on Jared Goff all game, stopped the run. And that just goes to show us that I know they have St. Brown and stuff in Detroit, like they have good receivers, but who's going to be that guy to step up when they're down like that, if they get down? And most of the time that hasn't been the issue because, like you said, we both anticipate Detroit being where they've been the last 2 or 3 years as one of the top offensive teams. But that's another reason why it should scare the rest of the NFL because Jordan Love was coming off a minor injury. They didn't really report till late last week, but he's only going to get better. I agree with you as far as, like I said last year, that was one of the most underrated signings was Jacobs from the Raiders going to Green Bay. Just that, especially when they get late in the year, Eddie Lacy and some of the guys they've had over the years, he's one of those old school running backs where he's not going to try to beat you to the outside. It's between the tackles, 2nd and 5, he's get the old-fashioned way. So it's like he's hard to bring down, and then Love getting those other secondary receivers. And then Micah Parsons, like, he's only going to grow. That defense is only going to get better. I know the final score is going to say 27-13, but Detroit scored a garbage time touchdown. It was 27-6, and just like we talked about last week, I mentioned it last week, but we talked about Micah Parsons. Week 1, how's he going to contribute? The whole world watching, he gets a couple pressures, and then the second to last drive, the last drive he was in, he gets the sack. And so that's only going to come, that's just from raw talent. So, but the more he gets to know Green Bay's system, and the more, like, and Detroit's a really great team, so I don't want to take anything away from Detroit, but like I said, that's why it scares me for the rest of the NFL, or it should scare the NFC. Green Bay, if their defense plays like that, having 4 or 5 sacks and getting pressure the entire game, like that, Green Bay looked really good week 1. I anticipate Detroit will bounce back, and they'll still be there. I'm going to say for another week, I'll still have Detroit win the division. I hate to jump off just off 1 week, I said, but that game wasn't as close. I kept flipping back between that one and the Seahawks-Niners game at the 3 o'clock games, I said, but did not expect that one to be a blowout. So, like you said, that might be one at the end of the year because it's a divisional game. It's week 1, but might decide the division, which decides the seeding.
Yeah,
so it just
you'd be crazy.
Yeah.
We're gonna take a quick break here, and then we're gonna roll into the state of the Broncos, Steelers, and Chiefs. Roll into the state of the Chiefs, Broncos, Bears, Steelers here. I'll start off state of the Broncos. Bo Nix can't throw 2 interceptions against inferior defense, I would say. They're NFL guys, obviously, but Bo Nix cannot be throwing 2 interceptions. We got to clean that up. Our defense bailed us out like they did multiple times last year. A great addition for us, our safety number 9. I need to figure out how to say his name because I'm going to be saying it a lot. Leads the team in total tackles with 12. Is an absolute menace. Nick Bonito gets a sack to seal the game on Cam Ward. Patrick Surtain gives up 0 yards receiving on people he covered. Riley Moss seems like he took a step. Obviously, he's covering an older Calvin Ridley, but he only, I think, really held Ridley to under 50 yards, which is still good. Our defense was really good run stoppers. It's just that game was a lot closer than, for comfort for me anyways. Like watching the game, I was like, what are we doing? Like I think we had good passing concepts. We had good running concepts. It was just across the board. Like, it wasn't happening. And we had big plays, but then it seemed like we couldn't finish drives. Thank goodness for Will Lutz having a reliable kicker we can send out there and Mile High to get that done. And obviously we're playing – Cam Ward looked good. Like, his first pass, he stepped up in the pocket and threw like a little side pass over to the running back. So I think Cam Ward is going to be a lot better than people gave him credit for. Obviously, he's the first overall pick for a reason. He's got the tools. But Cam Ward shifty, ran a lot more than he did at Miami in the game, but it looked really good to me. I was surprised with how good the Titans looked on offense, at least. Defensively, it's, I was 2 interceptions. It's a good game for any team. So I was very – but hopefully Broncos clean it up. We'll play the Colts this week. It's a little scary after what the Colts did last week. But I think the Broncos get it figured out. We just got to start clicking a little bit more. Defense hopefully bails us out like they have been in the past. I mean, we were top 5 defense in the league last year. Did really good defense again this year. We just added pieces. Hopefully at some point Jerry Greenlaw comes back. But besides that, we got the win. That's all that matters on the week 2.
It's better to figure that out. Turn the ball over 4 times and still getting the win. Figure those things out with a win.
Than a loss. It feels a lot better. But rolling to the state of the Steelers here, we already kind of went over, but
Yeah, so I mean, the Steelers took care of business. I think the thing with the Steelers is they didn't really have a consistent run game by any means. And then the big story for if you're a Steelers fan, is the defense. And so they gave up 400 some yards. They made Justin Fields. Again, it was a great play action. Kudos to the Jets, but when they scored the go ahead touchdown originally to go up. I mean, he just did a bootleg, faked the handoff, and he literally walked into the end zone. So, cleaning that up, and I think they gave up 180 rushing yards or 160 rushing yards. So, they need to figure that out. You can't just be all Cam Hayward. I know they got some guys that were banged up last week. Keanu Benton played pretty well from the tackle spot. That being said, they'd look for more improvement, and then obviously we'll see how Aaron progresses. Those stats are kind of, I think, misleading.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think overall,
It's week one.
Well, and everyone says rightfully so, the 4 touchdowns, but one of those touchdowns was literally one of the ones where the wide receiver is in motion to the left and he literally touch passes it on the hike.
Yeah.
And that's a touchdown pass. So they have a big game this week against Seattle. The thing that I'll say for Pittsburgh, the state of the thing is a lot of times they play to the level of their competition. They can play up to big teams and they play down to the level of competition. And I don't want to spend too much time on it. I said, but they have a backloaded end of the year schedule, and so I hope they can figure these things out because they start this week with Seattle at home. They play the Patriots. There's been plenty of other years where we had the better team on paper, but we still, for whatever reason, the Patriots have had our number. But you got a winnable game against the Patriots. Essentially a rookie quarterback. We just talked about Minnesota looked good, but McCarthy. So Pittsburgh plays Seattle, and then they play, I believe, at New England, then in Dublin against the Vikings on the bye week and the Browns. So if you're a Pittsburgh fan, you're looking at you should at least walk away 4-1.
Yeah.
4-2.
If not
it'd be 4-1. Yeah,
yeah,
that'd be 5 games. So 4-1. They'll be favored, by the end of it, in all 5. The big state of the Steelers is getting these wins that they need to early, stack them up on top of another week getting Aaron. First of all, getting a running game, and then cleaning up the defense.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks just off of our reputation. Oh, the Steelers always have a good defense, and they have. I mean, beginning of the year, you look at the last couple of years, the 11-0 year, even last year, with guys like T.J. Watt, that's man, Pittsburgh looks really balanced and dominant. Well, yeah, it's because everyone's healthy. But the problem is when you got guys and I still think T.J.'s in that prime, but when you got T.J. Watt and Cam Hayward and all these guys, Jalen Ramsey now, phenomenal players. But it's going to be interesting to see how they hold up for the course of the year. That's why I feel like it's been one of the Achilles heels at the end of the year, the last few years. But shoring up the defense, getting a run game overall, got kind of lucky, but they made enough plays. Thank God for the Boz.
Yeah.
And
Having a good kicker really saves you sometimes. Rolling to the state of the Chiefs here. Chiefs are, we talked about it earlier. Chiefs has got to figure some things out across the board. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, like you said, will still make Patrick Mahomes type plays, but just got to figure out timing with his receivers. Doesn't help that he still doesn't have his wide receiver 1 back, and who knows when he's going to be back. And then Worthy going down hurt a lot too because I feel like he took a step at the end of last year. He made some big plays. And then defensively, just got to Spag. I have faith in Spag. Spags is a great defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
I think they'll figure it out and clutch it up there. I mean, it's the Chiefs at the end of the day. You drop one out of country, I mean, it'll happen. You got a big test coming home this week, so I feel like this week will be a better showing of what the Chiefs are going to be this year than last week was.
Yeah. No, I think at the end of the year, Kansas City is still going to win the division. I think they'll figure it out. Like you said, a big game this week. We'll find out a lot. I said, and it doesn't help. Like I said, I haven't seen what the prognosis is on Worthy. Do they say, Greg?
No, shoulder injury, but
I don't think they gave
I don't know
a
the
time
timeline.
yet.
But when you get rid of a guy like Rice, not Rice, but gosh dang it, Sky Moore.
Yeah.
Which wasn't a big piece, but I said, but him and Worthy being down, then you have, you had Rice, and you still have Kelsey, and you still have some playmakers. I said, but Chiefs, I feel like are similar. It's week 1, but they need to get a run game for Patrick Mahomes. I said, there's a couple times where Mahomes took some hits. And then who's going to be that guy, especially if Worthy's going to be out for multiple weeks? Who's going to be that number 1 guy? Because that's the thing with Worthy was he showed promise at the end of last year. He's that guy that was before for the Chiefs, DeAndre Hopkins or Tyreek Hill. He was the true number 1 as far as our best guy against your best guy. We need a big play. So that's a big loss. Mahomes is still smart enough, obviously, to dissect a defense and still put up 20-some points. I think Kansas City will be fine. But yeah, and I know it's obviously not. They said they looked inconsistent in week 1 on offense. They couldn't get a rhythm going. So I expect Andy Reid to. I think their offense will look better this week. And like you said, Spags is one of the top defensive coordinators for years. So I expect him to get that squared away as well. But they got a tough one this week, though.
Yeah. And then rolling into the Bears here. Bears offensively look good until the fourth quarter. So I think Ben Johnson will get them right. I mean, I feel like they'll close out games like they did last year with the Lions where they're putting up 55 points a game. I'm not saying this team has the same potential, but I think they'll stay aggressive the whole game. And Bears defense, I mean, I don't really have any pointers or anything I could say they do different. I mean, they played a hell of a game against a rookie quarterback, so to say. Yeah. But they had good pressure. Like, it's just players making plays at the end of the day. Yeah. And, I mean, they had some injuries late, so hopefully they get their linebackers back. Yeah. But I think the Bears will be fine. Mm-hmm. Bears defensively will be fine. I think the offense just needs to take a progressive step with Ben Johnson. I mean, he probably installed a shit ton of stuff. Mm-hmm. So this year, like, if the Bears don't do super good this year, I could see next year which is crazy to be talking about moving on to next year already. But with a complex offense like that, it probably takes a while to get everything guaranteed. Like, you think about Shanahan's first year with the Niners, not very good. Then second year, they're Super Bowl. Yeah. Like, it just takes time to grow into NFL offenses.
Well, sorry, what you did?
No, I'm good.
Sorry. But just talk about Ben Johnson himself in Detroit when they start off 1-6 in Campbell's first year, and a lot of people wanted to get rid of Ben Johnson.
They wanted to fire him.
Yeah, and so I think I agree with you. I think that they'll be – first of all, like I said, I think their defense is going to be a lot better than what I anticipated. What I think a lot of people, as I was really impressed with their defense, and I definitely saw some first-round draft pick moments by Caleb Williams, but they kind of stalled in that second, third quarter, and they just kind of, in my opinion, just kind of ran out of time. So we saw some good things. So it's going to be putting a whole game together, and I think that they'll be there in a lot of games this year because I think their offense will be better the more they get used to Ben Johnson's system. I think that they'll be fine. Just got to see. I still don't know if Williams is. He shows flashes, but I don't know if he's the long-term answer. Yeah. He has all the he has all the ability in the world, but that was kind of the knock on him even last year was putting a whole game together, and that's exactly what happened on Monday. So, but definitely some things I said I think they'll be better as the season goes on, and their defense is going to keep them in a lot of games too.
But yeah, so we're going to take a quick break here, and then we are going to roll into our picks for Week 2 of the NFL season. Doubleheader on Monday night.
Moving right into the picks now. Thursday Night Football, we got a banger coming up with the – my bad, I'm still choking on my spit. We got a banger lined up with the Commanders and the Packers.
Lambeau Field.
At Lambeau Field. Yeah, I should have said.
I'm going to take this game, taking the Packers out of Lambeau Field advantage. Michael Parsons, like we talked about earlier, takes another step in that game. And the Commanders didn't. I mean, they won last week, but I thought – and the Giants' defense is improved. I'll give them that. But I think the Commanders didn't look as hot as they did last year. It's going to take some growing time. And I thought the the Packers' defense looked better so I'm going to take the Packers just because at home. There's a short week. Got to travel on Wednesday for the Commanders. Like, a bunch of different factors. So give me the Packers at home.
Yeah. I agree. I have the Packers winning this game. I thought the Commanders, the game was the score was a lot closer than what the game was. Yeah. The Giants definitely, same thing, week 1 showed some good signs, better than what we thought. But, getting Deebo Samuel involved early, like Scary Terry, McLaurin, I think they'll get him more involved. Getting Zach Ertz, there's nice chemistry between Daniels and Ertz. I'm still a believer. I like what I saw from the Commanders. I think it'll be a close game. But, yeah, give me the Packers to improve, take the momentum from last week, short week at Lambeau, and just that defense. I think what I saw last week from Green Bay literally was one of the better defensive performances the last 2 or 3 years, and that's week 1. So Daniels is obviously going against Philadelphia last year in the playoffs, and even a tough and hostile environment in Detroit, can play on that stage. But I think Green Bay is just the better team, and Green Bay gets it done at home. Start off 2-0. Very nice. Micah Parsons gets another sack this week.
Yeah,
I dig it. Second week of football, we got a second Cat Bowl already lined up, going with the Jaguars, rolling into Cincinnati to go take on the Bengals.
Give me...
Oh, it's our first noon game, by the way.
First noon game on Sunday. I like the Bengals in this one. Jags are figuring it out like last week. They won against the Panthers, but I think the Bengals are better. Obviously, Bengals' offensive line needs to figure it out. They're going to get Joe Burrow maybe murdered.
Right.
Quite literally murdered. Like we saw the hit last week, and the Jags, they have Josh Allen as a defensive end. People kind of forget about down there in Duval, but
Duval.
he's still. I don't know about their head coach still, but I like the Bengals. I hope hopefully their offense kind of takes a step. Chase Brown showed he could be an RB1, but their wide receivers. I mean, if we based purely off of last week, they do not look like the money they just paid him this offseason.
Right. No, I have Cincinnati. This game I think is going to be a lot closer than what people think. Just because we talked about what Trevor Lawrence last week, I thought that they looked more like the old Trevor Lawrence, and I think one of the big draft stories and NFL ready players that I'm excited about seeing is Travis Hunter, and I think he had maybe 5 or 6 catches. I need to have the stats in front of me next time, but for like 30-some yards. But I think that'll continue to grow. And Intuine had one of the better performances. I think he had 140 yards and a touchdown.
And he's a RB. He's a second in rushing yards behind Derrick Henry and overall yards.
So like that, they bring a nice balance. And like you said, we kind of questioned Cincinnati's defense, but they actually played pretty well last week. I'm going with Cincinnati just because it's in Cincinnati. I still believe in the Bengals and that offense. A little bit, they have to figure it out fast though, because 14 yards in the whole entire second half isn't going to get it done. So I think it's going to be a lot closer than what people think. But on any given day, I think there's just more talent with Burrow and Chase and those guys, and that where Jacksonville, although better than what they were last year, more balanced. I think Cincinnati gets the win, and they put up. Jacksonville can't keep up with Burrow essentially, and that'll be the difference.
And then rolling into our guest picker here.
Got my son Finn, 9. Bengals fan. Boo, what's your take on the game, buddy?
I'll take the Bengals, but I feel like it's going to be a pretty close game because how the Bengals played last week with how close it was, and Jacksonville, they were doing pretty good last week. And so I got the Bengals.
It's a good take. This is
Yeah.
right on the head.
Yeah. At the end of the day, they still got. I may not like the Bengals, but I like Joe Burrow. Like,
Yeah,
still
Joe
got Joe
Burrow's
Shiesty. Yeah.
I hated him at LSU, but like seeing like how far he's like come, it's been sick.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. We got some NFC East action. We got the New York Giants going down all the way to Arlington to face the Cowgirls.
This game I feel like it's hard to pick.
Yeah, Cowboys played
Cowboys-
good this week. Yeah.
Cowboys defense kind of looked. I mean, obviously they're playing returning Super Bowl champions, really good team, but their defense looked a little lost without Parsons out there. It looked like we were kind of missing a step. Their offense looked, besides C.D. Lamb dropping countless clutch balls.
Yeah.
I mean, he still had over 7 receptions,
Yeah.
but still drops a lot of passes. George Pickens didn't really get involved,
No.
which I feel like when they get him involved, they'll roll better. Javonte Williams, 2 touchdowns, surprised me. Why can't you do that when you're in Denver, buddy? But all right. But give me the Giants. I like the Giants as an improved defense.
That's crazy.
I like offense was kind of struggling a little bit, but I think with a short week, or not a short week, but like another week, hopefully they get Malik Neighbors more involved because he was a big part of their offense last year. And I like their defense. I mean, they got the first overall pick, or second overall pick in Abdul Carter, who I feel like is going to grow against interestingly set up Cowboys offensive line.
Yeah.
They have I can't say his last name, but the pass rusher out of Oregon that got taken a couple years ago. They still have Sexy Dexy in the middle. I think that D line's going to dominate, and I feel like anytime that Dak Prescott gets a little bit of gets pressure, he can either make really good plays or he can make really bad plays.
Yeah.
So I like the Giants in this one.
Interesting take. I said I do think the Giants, and like I said, for whatever reason, the Giants were always one of those teams I kind of liked in the NFC. Played a lot better. Malik Neighbors is a stud. They have some guys on defense. I said, but I'm going with the Cowboys on this one just because they did play really well last week. I still expect them to be middle of the pack of the NFC just because of their name, and they're playing a divisional rival game, a winnable game at home, and played a lot better. And like you said, not only Williams taking another step, but George Pickens, I think, like you said, had 3 catches for 20 or 30 yards.
Yeah.
Once they get that figured out, how to use both of them, that offense should still be pretty decent. And so I like Dallas at home, and then New York not being able to keep again, just kind of they kept it close last week with the Commanders.
Yeah.
But didn't have enough offense, and I expect it to be kind of the same story this week. Give me the Cowboys.
Nice. Going from a down south game to all the way up north game, we got the Chicago Bears going up to face the Motor City Kitties, the Lions.
Motor City Kitties.
Yeah.
I feel like this game, they're both 0-1. They're both looking for identity on offense right now. Both defenses played pretty good across the board. Give me the Lions. I know that we said the Bears defense was looking better, but I think Jared Goff brings a level of consistency no matter where he's at. We saw it in LA. We're seeing it we saw it last year with all the injuries. Still a consistent player, and they still, at the end of the day, they still have all the weapons they had from the run last year. So I think at home against a division rival, Caleb Williams might turn it on. We don't know, but I like the Lions winning this one. Dan Campbell is saying, "Hey, Ben Johnson, maybe you shouldn't have left yet."
Yeah. I also have Detroit. I mean, last year when they played them on Thanksgiving, like Chicago had their chances at the end, and then that was that really bad clock management.
Yeah.
But Chicago had their chances in Detroit. New year, new team. Like you touched on already, Jared Goff's been a proven winner. May not always be the most sexy pick, but another thing about last week was getting behind with Green Bay when they were down by double digits, just trying to do too much like passing. And like you said, they've got a pretty good 1-2 combo with Gibbs and Montgomery. Gets tough yards with Montgomery, and Gibbs, I think, had 20 touchdowns total last year between receiving and rushing. So I expect Detroit to I just touched on the last game, but I just have a little more offense. And it's a good point. It's because obviously Ben Johnson, being in that system for several years, is going to know what Detroit's weaknesses are. So I think, and again, it's a divisional game, so those games just by default are typically close. But Detroit and their expectations and just the overall talent they have, I think Detroit gets the win. They take care of business.
Back to our guest picker here. What you think, buddy?
I'm going to say Detroit will win, but with how Caleb Williams and his offensive line is, they built up their offensive line this preseason, but I'm going to pick the Lions because if Jared Goff can get it to his wide receivers, they're pretty good. They should win.
Jameson Williams got extended yesterday, I think,
Yeah.
or earlier this morning. So, I mean, you're right. They have good weapons across the board and just got to figure out how to use them.
That was really good too. That's probably better than any of my takes I've ever had. But moving on, we got the Los Angeles Rams going all the way east to just shout this to go take on the Tennessee Titans.
Give me the Rams. Like I said, Cam Ward looked really better than I expected last week. First overall pick. But Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay pulled it out last week in a closer than expected game. But I like the Rams winning this one. Nashville, just Rams more experienced.
Yeah.
Titans need to take steps to get better. They're improved, but I think the Rams get it done.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. I have the Rams winning this game. The only thing that I think keeps Tennessee in it is the fact that it's for whatever reason, that 1 o'clock West Coast team going to play a 1 o'clock game. Is it a 1 o'clock game? I'm sorry. Or is it
it'd be Eastish. I think it would be.
Yeah.
I don't know. Time zones like that.
Yeah.
Whatever noon is over there.
Yeah. But I mean, same thing. What doesn't get talked about, when the Rams made the playoffs and almost beat the Eagles, they're known for Matthew Stafford and their offenses, but really over the last half season last year and last week against a good offense in Houston has been their defense. And I think that's what Matt Stafford makes enough plays. I said, but Tennessee not having the weapons on offense and that inexperienced quarterback, the Rams and Sean McVay will have some packages. I know he's more of an offensive mastermind, but the Rams are just the better overall team. One thing I do want to say about Tennessee, like you said, though, I wasn't sure what to expect out of Ward. I was happy to see your Broncos win.
Yeah.
But how many times the last 2 drives did Titans players drop? They dropped 3 or 4 passes right in the chest plate. I mean, Ward was put in where it needed to be. So I think really those guys figure it out. It's about a lot of positive signs. I wasn't expecting Tennessee to be competitive, and so they might keep it close for a while. But essentially, I just think the Rams more experienced, better coach, better quarterback. Rams come out with the dub.
Nice. We got some AFC East action with the Pats going down to Miami to take on the Fins.
Another both 0-1, both division rival game here. This game's kind of hard to pick because you don't know if the Dolphins are going to come out and like what we expected last week and play better, like being explosive offense. But give me the Patriots. I like Mike Vrabel. I feel like Mike Vrabel's probably got the boys flying around after how they lost to the Raiders last week. But give me the Patriots to beat the Dolphins. I think it's purely Mike Vrabel is going to get that defense flying around, and if the Dolphins come out and struggle a little bit, I think the Patriots can just take it and run with it early on. Even though it is in Miami, and in this game, these guys seem to split every year, no matter who's coaching and who's playing.
Yeah. I like the Dolphins to rebound this week. I got the Dolphins winning. I expect Drake May to take steps. I'm a believer in Mike Vrabel. But I think Miami's a lot better than what they put out there. And Tyreek Hill even said after last week, he said it was an embarrassment. And they know that they have the offensive weapons. So I think this week they turn it around and they will be motivated from that loss and then be able to play the games at home, another divisional opponent, a rivalry game, chance to redeem themselves. I think that Tua plays much better. They don't turn the ball over as much. And I don't know who's going to stop. I don't know who's going to stop their wide receiver. Of course, I said the same thing last week.
Yeah.
But I like the Dolphins take business because of that embarrassing loss last week to play much, much better. And again, I don't expect New England to have a top flight offense, and not necessarily saying that Miami will be in the top 10 still like they used to be, but they've been there and they have enough weapons, and I think that they'll score enough points and be victorious. Give me the Dolphins.
I do. Next up, we got the 49ers just got done playing in Seattle, going all the way down Louisiana way to take on the Saints.
I like the Saints played better than I thought the Saints were going to be a total dumpster fire, but they played decent last week. I mean, better than expected, I guess you could say, against the Cardinals. But I like the 49ers in this game. I think the 49ers won a close game last week. And I think the 49ers really losing George Kittle is going to hurt them a lot. He just went on IR today, so he's out for at least 4 weeks, which is going to suck. But I think this offense is enough that they can get the ball to the other guys with Ricky Purcell and Ayuk and Christian McCaffrey. I'm obviously not an NFL coach, but if Christian McCaffrey's had the injury problems he had, I probably wouldn't run him with the ball 22 carries a game, especially early in the season when he's coming back after Achilles. I don't remember. It was like both of his Achilles had tendonitis, basically. That's basically what the diagnosis was. But I like the 49ers in this one, going down to the Saints getting it done against I can't think of his name. Every I see his face, anyways, you can go.
So
Spencer Rattler. I can see his face in my head every time I think of him.
Yeah, that's another offense, another team that's going to be it'll take some time, I think, for them to figure it out. I do think the Niners win, but it'll be closer than what people think. Only because another West Coast team, and the Superdome's never an easy place to play. And I also saw reports not only of Kittle, which is my fantasy tight end. But as far as quarterback too, I think that he'll play because he finished. San Francisco had the game-winning drive at the end. Which, by the way, did you watch the end of that one at all?
No.
So just the luck in the touchdown pass. I'll just say that they threw it up, and a guy two defenders were right there, and the guy just plucked it out. But anyway, I say that because my anticipation. I haven't seen reports today, but yesterday I saw that Brock Purdy had a hurt toe and a hurt shoulder. So we'll see if he plays. Interesting thing is they do have talking about Mac Jones earlier. He's actually their backup. I don't think that New Orleans is still finding an identity on either side of the ball. And they've got a lot of older players like Jordan, who actually had a really hell of a good first game on defense. Turn back time a little bit. But like I said, I think this game will be closer because of the injuries. But I don't think New Orleans has enough firepower. I think San Francisco's one of those playoff teams, and I think they get it done this week. Just enough.
Nice.
Even if Purdy doesn't play. But
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
So we got some more AFC East action with the Bills going down to New Jersey to take on the Jets.
This game, I feel like, is a very interesting game that last week we would have looked at and said, this is the easy week for the Bills. But after the Jets' performance last week, I think they're coming out hungry. I feel like they can. I hope, though, you think they'd only improve from last week or at least stay the same. But obviously, the Bills, Josh Allen coming off a huge Sunday Night Football win against a playoff opponent who they've played and they could very possibly play again this year. I like the Bills in this one, but I think it's going to be a good, close game. I think it's in the Meadowlands, and the Jets seem, no matter how bad or good the Jets are, they seem to be about it. They always seem to pack the place out.
Yeah.
But I like the Bills in this one just because Again, Josh Allen doing Josh Allen things. But I feel like this could be an upset alert game. You'd have to, like, wouldn't be surprised if I'm watching a 1 o'clock game and I see Jets are ahead of the Bills at any point in the game.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. So I agree that New York will keep it close. Another divisional game. They typically play the Bills pretty close. At the end of the day, give me the Bills. It's hard to bet against Josh Allen. And then taking that momentum and their place again amongst one of the best teams in the entire NFL. Like I said, I saw a lot of good things from Justin Fields last week. Their offense, I think, is going to be a lot better. Like Breece Hall looked really good at the running back position. Garrett Wilson. New York's they've got a lot of potential, and I think they'll play close. But Buffalo's just on a whole different level, and it took them some time to figure it out. I can't even say that because Baltimore just ran the ball extremely well. I said, but Buffalo's offense played pretty well the entire game for the most part, and I think that it just goes back to there's certain teams that are just still, especially in today's NFL, it's about who scores more points. So I don't think Fields can keep pace with Allen, and that's why I have the Bills winning. I said, but I think it will be a lot closer than what people think.
Yeah, it's good. It should be a good game. The game last week we looked at and be like, it's
right
a walkthrough game.
And the Jets definitely had their chances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next up, we got the Seahawks going to face the Steelers in Pittsburgh.
I feel like this is also going to be a good game. Seahawks lose in the last minute drive for the 49ers. Division game out there out west. They're going all the way to Heinz Field. It's not Heinz Field. It's Azura Field now. It's still Heinz Field.
Yeah. Well, no, it's Azura.
Yeah, it's Azura Field now because I remember seeing the ketchup bottle.
It's still Heinz Field. It's like Sandstone and Azura. It's still Sandstone. It's still Heinz Field.
But Seahawks going out there. I think the Steelers get the win here. The Seahawks have to travel all the way back east. Seahawks, Sam Darnold is still not figuring it out. He had a good game, but I see Kenneth Walker had a good game. But the Steelers, Aaron Rodgers looked like old Aaron Rodgers, kind of like you talked about. He had some moments that he looked like actual 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. And then there's moments he looked like Super Bowl winning Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
So I'd taken the Steelers in this one just out of veteran leadership. Hopefully that defense takes a step or improves, especially first home opener game.
Yeah.
Should be a big game. TJ Watt's always there to close out a game. It seems like TJ Watt's always fourth quarter. You put money on TJ Watt to at least pressure the quarterback out of pure dominance.
Yeah, I do. I have my Steelers winning this one. I think this is going to be a game that goes back and forth. Just because I am high on Seattle. Seattle had some opportunities last week against San Francisco at home. The last two drives, and the last one ended up being an interception dang near the red zone, and it was just from a wide receiver bobbling the ball. I said, but Sam Darnold, for the most part, was inconsistent, but still looked pretty good. And with them having Walker and a good running game and us struggling on defense, I think Pittsburgh will play better on defense. But I think Seattle keeps it close. But I do have Pittsburgh home opener. That's a noon game as well, or 1 o'clock Eastern time?
Yeah, 1 o'clock Eastern.
Again, maybe I overthink that, but the Western Coast going to the East Coast, and Aaron Rodgers looking a little more fluent. Hopefully they get things like we talked about the state of the Steelers. They figure out some things on the offensive line as well. But I like the Steelers to get it done as they should, and Aaron Rodgers making enough plays to win. Plus, let's not forget where DK Metcalf played his whole career. So I think Metcalf
a little bit of a get back.
Yeah, only having four. I think it was 4 catches for 80-some yards. Yeah. I expect Metcalf and Rodgers to continue their chemistry and pick up the win.
Next up, we got some more AFC North action, or it might be the only AFC. Yeah, it is the only AFC. My bad. But we got the Browns going to the face of the Ravens.
Browns, Myles Garrett, still Myles Garrett at the end of the day. But I like the Ravens in this one, coming off a really tough loss. Obviously, it's a game that probably stings afterwards, especially with the stats they had with Derrick Henry running for all he did, Zay Flowers, Lamar Jackson. But I really like the Ravens in this one as a get-back game. Browns are dangerous. If the Browns can figure it out, could be dangerous. I mean, could be really good. But I really like the Ravens in this one just because of who they are. Get kind of a get-back game, get-right game, you could say. And it's at home again, so give me the Ravens.
Yeah, this one I think was. I would put this one as one of the locks for the week. I definitely have Baltimore winning this one. Cleveland, and I meant to say this with the Pittsburgh-Seattle game, but the other thing to watch for is Seattle had 4 or 5 sacks on Purdy, so like been bringing the pressure. So I only bring that back up. Something to watch for is like Cleveland. Like you said, I don't care what the reasoning was. Being able to hold Joe Burrow in that offense to only 14 total yards, and the pressure that Cleveland was getting, and they had. If we were going to have a twitches, like what made you twitch this week, if you're a Cleveland fan doing Cleveland things, I mean, they missed 2 kicks. I think they missed an extra point. Maybe that was the second kick. And then they also had 2 interceptions where it literally hit off the players, like the Tennessee game, hit right off the player's chest and bounced right into the Bengals. So Cleveland, I think their defense is really good, and they'll keep them in it for the the first half. But ultimately, I think that Baltimore and that run game will wear them down. And there's too much offensive firepower. Like I said, Baltimore showed, even though they choked at the end of last week, they're still a top 4 or 5 team. And in Baltimore, I think if they're going to beat the Browns, like the little stepbrother, like redhead stepchild, I just think that there's too much on. They should win that game. They'll be pissed off from losing last week to Buffalo, and I think Baltimore wins it.
Yep. What's your take here?
I'm going to take Baltimore on this because, well, if Shador Sanders really can get his wide receivers and they'll catch it, it might get a little close, but I'm still going to take Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry.
No.
Yep, it's solid pick.
Because Derrick Henry was decently good.
He is a beast. He's a man amongst boys.
Yep.
The Browns will have Joe Flacco, timeless Joe Flacco, and he played pretty well last week, but still.
One of 4
Solid
Super Bowl
pick.
winning quarterbacks still playing in the NFL.
Yeah.
They're starting week 1.
Next up, we got the Horsey Bowl. Broncos at the Colts.
First 3 o'clock game here on the slate.
I think they're still in it. Is it 3 o'clock? Yeah, it's 3 o'clock.
It's 3:05.
Says it right here in my notes. Just dingus.
I really I'm scared about this game. I wasn't scared about last week, and I ended up kind of stressing about it. This game I'm going to be stressing about until the game's over, no matter which way it slides. But I'm going to pick the Broncos in this one. I'm a Broncos fan. I'm going to let the Broncos ride on this one. I think the defense is going to keep us in the game no matter how bad the offense plays. And granted, this Dolphins defense is good, but they're not the Broncos defense. I think the Broncos defense keeps us in. But Daniel Jones scares me. Michael Pittman scares me. Jonathan Taylor scares me. But also, week 1, knee-jerk reactions, I feel like might be part of it. But I like the Broncos to win this one. But it is in the house that Peyton built, so it's kind of the Peyton Manning Bowl. Whoever wins this one, Peyton has to go to the rest of their games. Probably not, but that'd be a fun little thing they could do.
Right. I actually I wouldn't be surprised if Denver's the better overall team by the end of the year. But just going off that momentum and the fact that it's in Indianapolis, I think they ride that momentum as well, and Daniel Jones has another solid week. Now, granted, Denver does have a top 5, at least top 10, but probably top 5 defense. Like I said, winning a game, having 4 turnovers. Bo Nix, I don't anticipate playing like early season last year. Bo Nix like he did last week.
I hope not.
Right. So, but I think in Indy there's enough pieces, and their defense played pretty well, and it's going to be I feel like a low scoring game. And like I said, I just like Daniel Jones riding that momentum and the fact that it's in Indy, and give me the Colts actually.
That's crazy.
It's going to be a good game. I'm excited for it.
Our next 3 o'clock game, our second and final 3 o'clock game, we got the Panthers going down to Glensdale to face the Cards.
Kind of a interesting game. You look at it. Cardinals get the win last week against the Saints. Panthers lose last week, only putting up 3 points in the first half at least. It was not a great game in general. I like the Cardinals in this one because it's out west. It's in the time zone out west, the West Coast time zone. But Cardinals, Kyler Murray, they still got Marvin Harrison Jr. had a decent week. James Conner's still running out there, which we talked about before. Is how he's old. He was old when he was on the Steelers, it seemed like. But I like the Cards in this one. I feel like this game could go either way. This could turn into a low-scoring affair or somehow turn into a shootout because neither of those defenses are really have an identity of stopping the run or stopping the pass. They're just kind of NFL teams. So.
Yeah. I also have the Cards. I saw something it didn't Carolina did some nice things last week as well. So, but Bryce Young just couldn't seem to put together drives.
Yeah.
Finish. No, Carolina had a hard time, and Bryce Young had a hard time. It seemed like finishing off drives last week, and Arizona's got kind of a sneaky decent defense, and like you said, and they have some nice pieces on offense, and like Kyler Murray's still athletic enough, and I just and Bryce Young is really athletic too. So it's in Arizona. Carolina's one of those teams I think it's just has to figure out an identity and still one of those bottom 5 to 7 teams in my opinion, and Arizona takes care of business at home.
Next up on our 325 slate, the Twitch and Box Sports Talk game of the week: Eagles at Arrowhead to face the Chiefs.
At Arrowhead. I think the Chiefs, this could be a get-back game for the Chiefs, like a get-right game, you could say. I mean, you're playing who they got blown out to in the Super Bowl last year. And Jalen Carter will be back. He got a $52,000 fine today for spitting on Dak Prescott. And Dak spit, they're making T-shirts that said Dak spit first. It's just it's just an NFC rivalry. You're always going to have something happen. The game got chippy after that. But I got the Eagles winning this one, coming into Arrowhead. I think the Chiefs play really good, but with Xavier Worthy being questionable, might not come back. You got Rashee. I'm calling Ray Rice. Rashee Rice not being back all the way, and the run game. Obviously, last week the run game was Kareem Hunt had more yards than Pacheco. Unless Pacheco's got some kind of injury that we're not aware of, they don't really have a run game. Kareem Hunt's a good back, but I don't think Kareem Hunt's a bell cow back anymore. You could say. With his first stint, he was a great running back, but now he's a little bit older. He's a good third down back, like special plays back. But like the Eagles in this one, just purely out of Eagles defense, they already stopped the run good, and they got good pass rushers. Maybe Jalen Carter won't spit on Patrick Mahomes, and he can play a full game. Yeah. And that's a nose guard that Creed Humphrey's going to have to take care of and probably have double team help with, just purely because that's just a load to handle. Yeah. So,
no, I think Kansas City gets back this week, and they do play a lot better. Like I said, I do think they figure it out as the season goes on. I think it'll be close. If Kansas City has the ball last, then I think Kansas City wins. I mean, just anybody.
It's very possible Mahomes does Mahomes things.
Exactly. But my thing is, like, just on paper having the better overall team, and there were a lot of things that happened that I don't anticipate. I think it's kind of a fluke in the sense of how dominant the Eagles were on the Chiefs. But there was still quite a gap. And I think Kansas City will close that gap. They'll be motivated to play, that they're not as bad as the Super Bowl. But just being honest, at least right now, in the end of last year, Philadelphia, I think, is the better team. I think a lot of people in Kansas City, I anticipate Philadelphia winning, that they'll think the sky's fallen.
Yeah.
I think Kansas City will be fine. They'll still win the division. And I think you'll see a better Kansas City team this week, even with the injuries they have. But at the end of the day, I said the problem last week for Kansas City was getting off the field numerous times where I never felt like the Chargers were in real danger letting that game slip away. And with Hurts and A.J. Brown, and hopefully for Philadelphia having, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. I know the other wide receiver.
Smith.
Yes, Devontae Smith. Like, getting him more involved in the offense. And Barkley, I think, only had 60 yards.
Yeah.
And so, I just think that if Philadelphia goes into KC with something to prove as well. I know they won last year. They're defending Super Bowl champs. They're already, picked by a lot of people to go back to, so it's not that big of a shocker. But I think Philadelphia beats the Chiefs in KC, unfortunately.
I'll be real. The way you was talking about the Chiefs, I thought you was going to pick the Chiefs.
I got Philly.
You
got Philly. All right. So, next up, Sunday Night Football this week. We got the Falcons flocking up north to take on the Vikes.
I feel like it's a very interesting game on paper. I mean, Falcons' offense has studs all over the place. Their defense they held Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield still had 3 touchdowns. Baker Mayfield slinging the rock. Yeah. But they held that game. They kept that game close across the board. And then the Vikings, we talked about earlier, come back, fourth quarter win, basically. I like the Vikings in this one, up there in U.S. Bank Stadium in Minnesota. I think McCarthy showed a lot he can improve on, but he also shows that he's still got that dog in him. He's still got we're down by a score. I'm going to go get this score for the boys. Yeah. And I think Kevin O'Connell's offense only gets easier with time. Like we saw that kind of with Sam Darnold last year. Yeah. As Sam Darnold came out and played his second overall pick like he was supposed to be over in the first place. Like he was a dog. It was a good play. And I think the Falcons just have room to improve. They have Michael Penix Jr.'s got room to grow. I think this game could go either way too. I'm very interested to watch it on Sunday Night Football because it's the only game on, so there'll be a lot of overreactions to this game. But I like the Vikings because you still got Jay Jettis. And it seems like once Jay Jettis and McCarthy get on the same page, you're going to be almost as dangerous as Sam Darnold, if not more dangerous than we had with Sam Darnold.
Yeah. No, Give me the Vikings as well at home on primetime. Another one of those stadiums that's kind of underrated. But it's a very loud stadium, very passionate fan base. Minnesota is usually one of the better NFC teams, just traditionally. Falcons did have their opportunities last week, missing that kick that would have sent in overtime. But kudos to you for throwing out the Baker Mayfield, because Baker Mayfield threw a couple of times, including that last touchdown pass. So, but overall, Atlanta played pretty well on both sides of the ball, had their opportunities. I was actually surprised by how well Michael Penix played. So you have two young guys, both. I think they're both drafted last year.
Yeah, they were both last year draft picks. So
yeah, we won't even go off topic on that. Well, all the guys from last year, between Knicks and all those guys, shaping to be a pretty good quarterback class. But in Minnesota on prime time, I think the difference, and Robinson's a beast too. I mean, 1,800 total yards picked up last week. He was another one of those ones I almost put. I think he only finished with I don't know, but 80 to 100 yards.
Yeah.
But had a touchdown, had a couple big plays, picked off where he left off last year. So that's a bright spot for Atlanta. But I think the balance and the experience of the Vikings as a team, not necessarily McCarthy, is going to be too much for the Falcons to overcome, who's still trying to figure it out. And I think the Vikings are the better overall team.
Moving on to the first half of our Monday Night Football doubleheader, we got the Bucks heading into Houston to take on the Texans.
I feel like this game is very interesting. C.J. Stroud, Baker Mayfield matchup. The Texans lose a close game out in L.A. last week, and then their home opener Monday Night Football down there in Houston. I like the Bucks in this one, though. I like Baker Mayfield. I like the Mbuke, their rookie receiver, stepped in for Chris Godwin. Had an amazing week last week. Caught 2 touchdown passes. I mean, he was dogging out. They got to get a little bit of a run game identity because people forget, but the Texans defense is good. Mm-hmm. They have Will Anderson Jr. down there. They have can't remember the other guy. He got drafted.
Yeah.
But he's another good – Texans defense is good, but I think Baker Mayfield's, with lack of a better term, screw it, there's somebody down there. I'm just going to throw it up there, and my guy's better than your guy. Yeah. I like the Bucks in this one going into Texans. Plus, Monday Night Football, you get an extra rest day.
Yeah. No, I hate to steal your picks and say, but with that one, I'm also going with Tampa Bay, just because. Yeah, and this was a hard one for me because it's hard for me to imagine Houston starting off 0-2 because I am a Stroud believer, and they said they have a pretty good offense and a pretty good defense, at least on paper or in the last couple of years. But I like in the clutch in a close game. I like Baker Mayfield, which is crazy to say. You can talk about comeback players the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I like, at the end of the day, I like when I anticipate another close game. I like Baker Mayfield to make enough clutch plays. He's shown, like I said, that's when he's at his best. When it's a close game in the spotlight, he's got that fire, that moxie, and I understand that this is not an NFC South game. It's an AFC. They're going to Houston.
Yeah.
AFC, but something about I think he's 5-1, 6-1 on the road in the NFC South. Point being, playing those close games and playing on the road, it seems to bring out the best in Baker. So it's weird to me because I wouldn't have thought at the beginning of the year that I would have had Houston starting off 0-2. But I liked what I saw from Tampa Bay. And you talk about those other ones, like with Jones and other quarterbacks that impressed me in week 1. Baker Mayfield was right up there. The first touchdown pass he had and the last touchdown he passed were just absolute bullets.
Yeah.
And so give me the Bucks taking care of business on Houston.
All right, and finally, it's at 9 or something like that. I think it's a later game. Mm-hmm. We got Chargers at Raiders for some AFC West action.
I think Pete Carroll and the Raiders get it done as Pete Carroll's home opener in Las Vegas. Chargers coming off a huge win last week against the Chiefs down in Brazil. But I liked what the Raiders did last week. They're piecing it together on offense. Genty got his touchdown, which I think I saw there was over, I think it said 500,000 bets for him to score a touchdown in that game. It's he's a good running back. I think he needs to grow a little bit into the NFL coming from Mountain West Conference. But I like the Raiders in this one. I love Pete Carroll. I wasn't a fan of Pete Carroll when he beat the Broncos in the Super Bowl, obviously, but I like what Pete Carroll is doing. And I think it's 2 really good coaches, but I think the Raiders get it done just being in the Raiders Stadium in Las Vegas.
I like that just because of the fact we have another game where we're not picking the same person. So, again, I think there'll be something. The Raiders will be more competitive than what people think because of the Geno Smith, Pete Carroll some of the other pieces they have. It was a good win for them. However, the Chargers, I expect them to be like, talk about an opportunity for the Chargers to come up and like hopefully don't have that. And the Chargers have been known to do this before. That's part of every year why they'll have a big win or Herbert on that level, and then they'll lose. They'll lose a game like this. But if you're the Chargers, you got that early head-to-head tiebreaker against the Chiefs. Now you have another opportunity, another AFC West right off the gate. 2 tiebreakers, 2-0, winnable game. And I think the Chargers they showed us last week that they are legit, or they're up for the challenge. Be a borderline cut, and I said, who knows? Like I still have the Chiefs win that division. I said, but that might be a sign of the Chargers they might actually push for the West.
Yeah.
And like I said, I like some things I saw from the Raiders. I like the balance that Geno Smith and the experience that Geno Smith brings, but ultimately I think that like the offense, like Justin Herbert looked absolutely phenomenal week 1. And I think the Chargers get it done. Start off with 2 AFC West wins to start off their year.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, that game, I feel like that game could go either way.
That's all we got scheduled.
Yep. So those are our picks for the week. Appreciate everybody for tuning in for week 2 of the NFL season here. Appreciate Hopkins out here and the Backstage Pass Bar and Griddle for letting us come out here and record this weekly here. Appreciate my producer Sloosh here for writing down timestamps and taking care of the funky recording device we had to use today because of some unforeseen circumstances. But Greg, you want to take us away here?
No, I'm good. I mean, I appreciate all the followers we get out here giving us some love. I know we've had some family and friends that were sending out people all across the United States, which is actually really cool. Any comments that come up on YouTube or X, show up to the Backstage Pass, will get you 1 free drink for every comment you drop. So
Yes, sir.
come out here and get loaded at the Backstage Pass.
But yeah, we appreciate everybody listening, and hope everybody has a great week. Hope all your bets hit.
Don't drink and drive.
Don't drink and drive. Be safe. Appreciate Twitch's kids out here hanging out today.
Giving feedback.
Giving a couple
Yeah.
good picks for us, Finn. Yeah, appreciate everybody. Hope everybody has a great week, and we'll see you guys next week.